hope that little wormy bastard's burning in hell. Anyway, where do I start? If you or someone you know, dear audience, was ever a South Carolina state trooper in the late 90s that was perhaps charged with watching over the northwest portion of the state, please feel free to comment. I'd kind of like to hear from you. Our meeting was rather brief that night, and I definitely understand. Clearly that was not your first rodeo. I'd like to know what had you so unnerved, though. Okay, so myself, my former friend, and another friend, we'll say, we're hanging out. Now, it was the late 90s. Much of that's a blur for me, for reasons that will become readily apparent very soon. And I decided to indulge in some experimental pharmaceuticals, shall we say. Now, any proper experiment, you will have your subject, you will have a control, and if possible, somebody that's been down that road. I was experimenting. One friend had been down that road, and the other friend was stone sober. This gives a nice basic comparison as the night goes on. Now, I was very far from being sober. Let me clarify that. I was not entirely in my right mind that evening. As the night wore on, though, we got bored hanging around my house, and we decided, since you can't really see the stars from that yard, we needed to go down to the highway. Now, Highway 11, and even now, is not that heavily traveled at night. Pardon. But back then, yeah, no, you weren't likely to see too many people. We thought we were good. We get down to the bottom of that driveway. Now, this is the middle of bumfuck nowhere. Now, out there, we felt pretty confident that, we were going to have a nice night. You could, the entire sky was crystal clear, glittering blanket of stars, as far as the eye could see, up and down the highway. And even back behind the old Table Rock there. Well, we get down there, and one of the first things we notice is Venus was looking hella bright. Like crazy bright. That's weird. Huh. And then my fellow traveler, shall we say, and myself noticed there were colored balls of light moving through the sky. Each one its own solid color. Throughout the night we would end up seeing them. They would be blue, red, orange, white, green. Each a single color. Each, if they were all the same size as the one that got closest to us over the course of the evening, the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. An old school Volkswagen Beetle. Well, we're looking and we're watching. And this is like the first 5 minutes we're down there. We see 3 of these balls of light zip up to what we thought was Venus, which began flashing through different colors. And as the corresponding color came up, that different ball would come zipping up and pop into it. It would change colors and another ball would pop out and shoot off in a different direction. This went on for hours. Now, like I said, in the first 5 minutes, this happened like 4 times. And my friend's about to say something, and I stop him. Man. Like, hold on. And I point to our sober friend. What did you just see? Because nobody had said anything yet. It's at this point that he proceeds to describe exactly what we were looking at. No one had said shit. So that meant it was happening, it was there, and he saw it. Okay, this is neat. Didn't feel threatening. Didn't feel too terribly weird. It was just an odd thing to see. Well, you know, several hours of this, we kind of got bored looking at it. You know, 2 of us had a lot of other stuff going on in our heads. So, we get bored. And I think it was the sober friend that suggested the next car that's coming, he was going to lay down on the ground and we should be pretending to whoop his ass. We thought, that's funny. Yeah, let's do that. We hear the car coming. You see the lights from like 2 hills over. You see the lights coming over that hill. And as the car gets within probably 150 yards of us, he's on the ground. Me and my friend are just making the stompy stomp stomp motions towards him. Well, we're all 3 cackling like mad because it was funny as hell. The car kind of taps its brakes and then hauls ass. That was funny. You know, maybe another 45 minutes to an hour goes by, and the object in the sky and its corresponding little balls of light have intensified their activity. At this point, they're coming and going at a pretty regular clip. Whatever color it was flashing, I mean, it was running through colors almost faster than we could keep up with it, and just dropping and retrieving, dropping and retrieving, dropping and retrieving. These things were coming in hot and fast. They were not playing around. They were moving. Every now and again, you see a slow one, circle wide, come up under, pop in, and another one pop out, shoot off into a different direction. I don't think once we saw a color go in and the same color come out. It was always a different color. Now, this was back in the late 90s, so you'll forgive me if my memory's a little, Now, at this point, all 3 of us are intently watching this. Out of the corner of my right eye, there's suddenly a brilliant white light. I look over, and what do I see? A South Carolina Highway Patrol state trooper getting out of his car, settling that Smokey Bear hat on his head, shifting his gun belt, and then he looks up at us. I said, "Good evening, officer. What can we do for you?" So, "What are you boys doing out here?" I said, "Well, sir, we're looking at that." And as I point, I see his head follow my finger. And right as he looks at that big bright light in the sky, 3 of them from 3 different directions zip up, zip in, pop out 3 more, and off they go. One of them came in low over top of us. Before I have had a chance to turn and look at him again. All right, all of this, the actual interaction was over the course of about 15 to 20 seconds. From the time he got out of his car to the time, well, you see, I had noticed there was a truck down at the next road turning and was coming to pass us. About the time I was telling him where to look. Now, these people, these poor people, had no idea how fucking close they came. Because as I'm watching the truck pass us, I'm looking at the trooper again. And he is fiddle fucking with his door, trying to get it open. "You boys have a good night." like thump, thump, thump. And as these people get about 30, 40 yards past us, they shift and that truck backfires. I have seen Jerry Miculek shoot a Model 66 Smith & Wesson 357. I don't know that he could have drawn as fast as this guy. He was down on one knee with that pistol leveled at that truck. They were within about a hair of getting lit the fuck up by a South Carolina State Trooper. Now, I don't blame him for being nervous. You know, I wasn't in my right mind. I'd probably been nervous too. But holy shit. Anyway, he recovers. The truck putters on out of sight. It backfires a couple more times. He reholsters his piece. And he gets that door open. He says, "You boys have a good night. Stay out of trouble." Dives into that car and takes the fuck off. Didn't even take the hat off. You know, I don't know what you know about state troopers, but back when they had those big old Smokey Bear drill sergeant looking ass hats, they were kind of protective of those things. Okay? That is a key part of that uniform. Or it was. I don't know about now. He didn't bother taking it off. He just got the hell in that car and got the fuck up out. He didn't want, I don't know what he had seen before that made that reaction. Just seeing some weird lights. Clearly not, you know, normal aircraft, because they were completely silent. Like I said, a couple of them had come in over top of us. Low and quiet. Brilliantly colored. Well, our officer takes his leave of us. I mean, he's gone. And we're left to sit there and watch it the rest of the night. We actually got bored enough to go back to the house. Walk up through that dark-ass, country-ass gravel driveway in the middle of the night. Not knowing no better. Back to the house. Now, at that time, the big story in UFOs was the Belgian incidents that happened in 95, 96, I think. Now, all that was reported about those incidents here in the States was sighting of large black triangles with lights on them. People wondering if it was the stealth bomber or the F-117. Neither of those can hover, and neither of those are that damn big. What was being reported and sighted in Belgium was definitely not those. But that's all that we heard about was those triangles. 10 years later, I'm watching a UFO special. I can't remember what channel it was on. And they showed the rest of what happened, like the military records from what happened during the Belgian UFO flap in the 90s. Not only did they have those big black triangle things, they saw exactly what we witnessed. So me, two friends, and a South Carolina State Trooper all got to see something that at least two governments hid from the people of the United States. Now, what it looked like to me was data gathering. You send out probes, you retrieve the probes, you take the information. But whatever this thing was, and near as I can tell, we're talking about 25 to 30 degrees up. And I want to say about 15, 20, 25 miles back behind Table Rock from us is where the big light was located, with the little ones zipping around and out of it and back into it. It had to have been huge, because over the course of the night, Venus was again spotted, and they definitely were not the same thing. It was a very interesting evening, to say the least. And we talked about it for years after. But there is no conventional aircraft that can do what we saw. Not one. Nothing that breathes like a jet, a propeller-driven aircraft, helicopters, you know, even bugs. They're moving air. Hell, those little helicopter seed things that you watch fall spinning, they have to move air in order to function. These things didn't. That's why they don't make any noise. That's why they're silent. They're not exchanging air for thrust or lift. It was a very, very, very... I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, it definitely... I would hope that was ours, but I don't think that was ours. I don't think that belonged to anybody you could think of offhand. Not in the 90s. Because we'll call it the mothership. No, that's not a Funkadelic reference. The mothership had to have been huge. These things were all the size of about the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. And to be taken and popping them out like it was, I don't know. I've had a hard time reconciling, like, either it was a carrier of some sort, and it had dozens or perhaps even hundreds of these things, or their data retrieval methods are so quick, and the things didn't need refueling for some reason, and they were just able to retrieve and redeploy, retrieve and redeploy, retrieve and redeploy. The most we saw in the air at one time, I think, was 6. It really tripped me out a decade later when I find out about what all went down in Belgium. The Belgian military chased the sons of bitches. I mean, they you know, they tried to engage them, I think, if I recall correctly. It was, well, I can't imagine what that's like. I won't want to have to do that. I've been close enough to one. I won't want to have to go toe-to-toe with it. I'll tell you that. Nothing that sophisticated. I want to say it was Arthur C. Clarke that said, what was it? Yes. An advanced enough technology, or a technology that is so much more advanced than what a person is aware of, is utterly indistinguishable from magic. And it's true. You're wondering how the hell is it doing it? Is it a trick? I mean, I don't know. I've been around a lot of aircraft in my lifetime. I've seen F-35s. I've seen Harriers, like at air shows. Nah. Those things are loud as shit. Helicopters, loud as shit. Anything that has to breathe to fly, and that's any conventional technology, any living thing that flies, and even, like I said, those little seed pods, has to exchange air for lift or use it for some manner of thrust. Jet engine sucks it in, compresses it, superheats it, blows it out the back. That's all making noise. Every bit of that process makes a shit ton of noise. How the hell are you going to make something sit perfectly still at thunderhead cloud height and just chill? How do you make something zip off faster than any human being can survive? Come to a dead stop. Retrieve it. Pop it out. And the next one, do the reverse. Just zip the hell off. Out of sight in a blink. You can't do that with conventional technology. You need something special. And the reason that I structured these videos this way is because this sort of dovetails into the weirdest fucking thing that ever happened to me. Technically, it happened twice. Once on my way home from my brother's house, late at night. It's the second time. Now that pissed me off. Especially since something didn't feel right about it. Now, the first incident, the one that I just finished describing to you folks, I didn't feel the least bit threatened by it. I mean, except for the two that came over top of us. The thing was minding its business. We were flashing the flashlight at it, trying to get its attention. You know, shit. Let's talk to the aliens, man. I don't know. But the weirdest thing that ever happened to me, I'm going to get into that. I will do a location shoot for this here in the next week or so. Give you guys a better idea of what I'm talking about as far as the lay of the land and everything. But yeah, that other video is going to be a big one. And I want to make sure I've got my T's crossed and I's dotted and everything just exactly right like it was that morning, or as close as I can get it. Because explaining it without that, I don't know. It was during Hurricane Dorian, and I was hoping this last one would help me out, but it kind of didn't. So, c'est la vie. Anyhow, that's tonight's paranormal story. The third weirdest thing that ever happened to me. And like I said, there's a reason the other one got bumped up, because I wasn't in any danger. Not this time. But boy, those people in that truck. No. They about called it. Anyway, y'all have a good evening. I hope you enjoyed it. Listen to me ramble about motion light. Anyway, have a good weekend, folks.